but Onana is actually now the priority, which is pretty ironic given that at the start of this transfer window, Man United were like absolutely adamant. What we are doing is focusing on getting a number 9 through the door. And actually what they keep doing is kicking that down the road and being like, oh, actually, no, we've got to get Mason Mount. Actually, no, we've got to get Onana. What's the next thing going to be? Like, are United going to start this season without a new number 9? Like at this rate, yeah, they are going to start the new season without a number 9 because they aren't making the inroads that they need to on Højlund, and then they're not impressing Atalanta at all. So yeah, going back to Onana, that deal will get done because it simply has to get done, and they need to tie it up this week so that they can take him on the tour. He's due back with Inter today. I think he's there. But obviously, like that is not part of his plan going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think we watched Man United's first preseason game yesterday.
Yeah.
And there was an irony, actually, that in the second half, we played some better football out from the back because the young goalkeeper, Kavor, was much better with the ball at his feet than Heaton. Heaton is from the old generation of goalkeepers. And you saw a difference in how we were able to play out from the back, and it led to more sustained attacks. And we were actually playing probably a better Leeds team in the second half than we were in the first half.
Yeah.
And I think it was evident to Man United fans who saw that, because that young goalkeeper, I mean, I'm not overly familiar with him because I don't follow Man United's academy anymore, because in my protest against the Glazers, I've cancelled MUTV, so it's hard for me to keep up with it. But he's better than David De Gea with the ball at his feet. So it is a deal that needs to happen. I think United fans just sort of want it signed off. But we also saw in the first half yesterday, we can't be starting the season without a number 9. Sancho playing as the false 9 was a disaster. We saw this young kid come on in Hugill, who looked. I mean, my first thought was, why weren't he starting over Weghorst? Like, that was my first thought. His first touch was better, and he actually scored a goal. But yeah, we need that. We need that goalie. We need that number 9. And I know that we're working on a lower budget than ever. I do feel like the club's also trying to make sure we're not being hung, like bent over a barrel for these deals, which has happened many, many times.
Yeah.
But you also get to that position where you're like, well, look, it'd be great to have him in before the window shuts, but wouldn't it be nice? And it might cost an extra £10 million, but to have Højlund in the squad for the full preseason, to have Onana full preseason, Mount full preseason. Let's just say the next player after that is Amrabat. I'm just going to use that as a case in point. To have them in the majority of the preseason tour would benefit us a lot more than 2 of those players being signed the midway point in August. You know, we've done it so many times, Man United. The year where we signed Cavani, we got him on deadline day, basically. Should have dropped the Sancho pursuit 6 weeks earlier, got Cavani in to be fully fit. And then because he didn't have a preseason, he didn't start playing until the October. And that's where we can't, that's where Man United make too many mistakes in the transfer market for me.
Yeah, look, Sancho is alarming. I mean, I don't like judging players in preseason, let alone their first 45 minutes of action. But like, there is absolutely no way that Jadon Sancho can be playing that position again. Like, it's just not okay. He's just not made for it. He's just not. There was that chance he got where it looked like he tried to run his studs over the ball or something to get it out his feet. It was like, should have been an instinctive finish. Any other like proper 9, you sure would have stuck it away. But yeah, Sancho can't play there in the Premier League season. Anthony Martial isn't even going to be an option, I don't think, at the start of the Premier League season to play there. So it is going to mean, as it stands, playing Marcus Rashford as a number 9 at the start of the season. And yeah, look, you've got options out on the left. So it could be Garnacho's out wide. It could be that Jadon Sancho's out there. And you've got plenty of people that could play on the right. So it's not the plan. This is not the plan. It's like, this is so far from what was supposed to happen for Man United this year. They set out, if you're getting back to January, February, where you're like projecting what was happening this summer, there was going to be this huge takeover. Frankie de Jong was back on the radar and they were going to aggressively go after him, and they were going to sign Harry Kane. Well, they haven't got that takeover. Frankie de Jong's definitely not coming, and Harry Kane is highly unlikely coming. And instead, you got Mason Mount, who, to be fair, decent game, I think is a decent signing. A goalkeeper that they didn't think was going to be an issue this season. Fine, I think it will help in the long-term scheme of things, but wasn't supposed to be happening. And you're signing Højlund, who actually, when they were first looking at targets, was on like the second list. So like there was always the possibility in this window that the big nine would come in, but they would also sign an additional forward. Højlund was on the list of additional forwards. And now he's suddenly talked about as like a prime target. And they can't even get it done anyway. Is it worth the hassle? Does Højlund definitely solve the problem that Man United have got there? I don't know. Like nobody knows how quickly he will even adapt to this level of football, especially the longer this drags on and the less of a pre-season he has, the closer you get to throwing him straight into the mix in the Premier League. United's conditions of pay aren't working. Like their alternate methods of trying to just throw players in Atalanta's direction instead of giving them money isn't paying off at the moment. What they try next, I'm not sure. Klarna, I'm not sure. But, you know, PSG being linked, United not really phased by that, I'm told. They're not 100% convinced by it. If it happens, it happens. I just am slightly intrigued by what the backup plan is here because I'm not really hearing of one. And I think that that's slightly worrying. That like I'm hearing no noises from all the other targets that United have had. If you think of all the players that were linked to this role, there's barely any of them left. Like occasionally you get like Lautaro Martinez is still there if you want him. Like you could go and do that for about 50 million though, so it's about the same sort of money as you're talking here. Not sure he's the right kind of striker for United anyway. Koulibaly is going to be too expensive. Osimhen's certainly not going to happen. Do you then get to a case where you're considering Moussa Dembele? Why not? Like, why is Moussa Dembele not suddenly coming into the equation at this stage? Like, United have long been linked with him. He's a proper goal scorer. He's certainly better than anything else Man United have got in that area right now. If it drags on, do you go to him or a Jonathan David?
Or a Mitrovic?
Or mate, I'm surprised nobody has actually even come calling, you know.
Again, he wouldn't be my ideal number 9.
He's not ideal for United, but yeah.
But he's better than having no number 9. And this is the thing. I was saying to Man United fans weeks ago, again, what are the fans going to do to force this takeover through, to release more money? All they've done is buy the new kits, subscribe to MUTV to watch the preseason, renewed their season tickets, and are again being Glazers. And this is what happens. We've seen them, you know, the Glazers play Man United fans like the Pied Piper. They always do, and they always will. And they can have their protests, and they can hold banners, and they can wear green and gold. But until they're willing to pull their money and crash the club to force the South through, that we may never get rid of them, and we may never get rid of them. 9 months now, and they still haven't been done. And the fans could easily have controlled this and just said, "Look, if you guys don't accept a bit of this level, we are boycotting." And I know Man United fans come out with this nonsense of, yeah, but the tourist fans will still listen. Those international fans that the top Reds call tourists love the club, and they are led by your example. And if you're pulling away because it's forcing them out, they will listen as well. So this nonsense that the ground will just be full of 75,000 tourists, I believe, is an absolute myth made up by people that don't have the cojones to give up, to sacrifice something personal. It's just a lie. It's an absolute lie as far as I'm concerned. With it, there's no grounds to believe it. And yeah, in my personal opinion, they're just too weak to push those Glazers out. They won't do what people like myself have done. Gave up season tickets, not bought a kit, not given the club a penny of my money in about 6 seasons now, in a push to force them out. What they'll do is just moan, but then perpetuate the situation by feeding it. So I feel sorry for the true Man United fans that have boycotted, that have sacrificed, that want them gone. I don't feel sorry for the Man United fans who'll moan about it, but will just give the Glazers their money and propping up this absolute joke of
it's quite a hard thing to let go of, though. I imagine if you've got a season ticket and like you do genuinely love the club, and you know with United you're not going to get that season ticket back because you're going to be pushed to the back of the queue. Like I've always wondered, like that emotional.
Oh, I get it.
That must be hard.
I do get it. It took me 10 years to get a season ticket in the part of the Stretford end that I wanted it, and I eventually got it. I had 2 of. I loved it. I love going to games. I miss it. The amount of times I'm watching football doing this job, and I just say, not being there hurts me. My son, my oldest, is 8, turning 9. He asks me, "Can we go? Can we go? Can we go? Can we go?" And I have to say no to him. It's painful. I know how much it hurts because I've done it. But for me, it was always a case of, if I don't like how they're running, I believe the only way to get rid of the Glaze, for anyone that's only interested in making money out of you, the best way to hurt them is to take the money away. It's just so obvious to me. It is believable. If there's no money, they leave you alone. You know, if you're gonna get
Yeah.
shut, you know, if the mob that they used to shake down businesses. They didn't shake down the businesses that had no money because there's no money to take. They only went for the ones that were doing well, right? So listen, they're shaking us down. So what we do is we pull the money away and they'll leave us alone. But I know it's hard to do, but for me, that's what I call tough love. And being a parent, we know what tough love is. And that's what Man United fans need to do with the club is there needs to be tough love. But we'll see
Bring
what
him to
happens.
Fulham, mate. Bring him to Fulham.
I hear you, mate. I really, really do. In terms of exits from Man United, with any of them on the agenda with Maguire, McTominay, Fred might be on his way to Fulham potentially.
Mate, it has to start kicking in next week. Like that's what I've heard. Like United really want to get active on this. Elanga seems like front and centre of this at the moment. An offer potentially coming from Everton. I mean, Everton not flush with cash themselves at the moment, so might have to be a little cautious about what is actually offered here. But there have always been good relations between Man United and Everton, and it's actually been seen as a good actual avenue often for players to leave Man United and head to. Alanga's got a lot of promise, like a lot of potential. He's not ready for a club of Man United's size. He obviously had his breakthrough and became a bit of a cult hero for a bit, but by last season, like you just knew that Alanga couldn't cut it at the level Man United was striving to get to. Like Everton, they want somebody who's got a bit of rawness about them, no fear. They want someone to have a go, and Alanga might be fitting for that. He'd also balance out what Sean Dyche is doing with the squad. He's just brought in Ashley Young at one end of the scale by looking for somebody who's 38, but also got reams of experience in this league. But he wants the other side of that too. And Alanga, obviously, with his ability to cross and the rest of it, is perfect player for Sean Dyche. He's liked him for some time, I'm told. So Alanga looks like he might have a route out of the club. Like Van der Beek, he's going to eventually get a route out of the club, but they don't know even which country it's going to be yet. Like he's got interest in like literally 5-6 different countries. None of them want to front money for Van der Beek. So are they going to have to contemplate a loan? They possibly will. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely not what they're looking at, but Van der Beek might have to end up going on loan. So that doesn't help. Fred, Man United want £20 million for Fred. Nobody in England is looking to pay £20 million for Fred. I'm told that Fulham rate him around £12 million. Like that's probably about as far as they would go on Fred at the moment. Obviously, there's potential for, again, Saudi Arabia to come for Fred, and they might actually be willing to pay 20 million if you think they're willing to pay 10-ish for Jordan Henderson at that point, and 40 for Fabinho, maybe 20 for Fred, somewhere along the line seems reasonable. Harry Maguire, I don't know. I honestly don't know what happens here. Look, £50 million isn't going to happen. This story's back out that Man United value Maguire at £50 million. I haven't yet spoken to anyone who actually is close to Man United who believes that that's possible. I spoke to someone a couple of days ago who is, very integral to all the briefings and stuff that come out of Man United. And he's like, look, they're not even sure they'll get 35 million for him. If they could get 35 million, they'll take it. Because at this point, that's about what you're going to get. If you look at the market at the moment in terms of what you're getting with defenders, like Kim obviously ended up going for, was it 43 to Bayern Munich? And I know that was because of a release clause. That's the only reason he moved at that price point. But Harry Maguire certainly won't be moving in this transfer window above and beyond a figure that Kim's moved for. And if you look within the Premier League, you got the move of Collins to Brentford. Was it 23? I think he ended up going for. Koulibaly's left Chelsea for £17 million. Like, you can't have Koulibaly moving for 17 million and Harry Maguire moving for double that at this current moment. Yeah, Maguire's got to get out. Like, Maguire's got a Euros coming up in a year. Like we're talking about with Jordan Henderson, him putting himself at risk. Harry Maguire can't not play football. He's Man United's fifth choice centre back at the moment. I don't know how this opens up because of his wage problems. There aren't really any opportunities for him coming within the Premier League unless he's willing to significantly drop demands or United do actually pay him off. There's been like emotional links to like Sheffield United, but I spoke to someone at Sheffield United. They're like, don't see how we're going to be able to do that. Like, would love it, but just don't see how it can open up.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Maguire's biggest issue as well is those wages. Those wages are astronomical. he's not going to
Yeah.
want to give them up. Look, I think what's going to end up happening in the end is, as you said, I think 25 million, maybe. And then on top of that, Man United will probably have to still pay a percentage of his wages until the end of his contract. So maybe
Yeah.
pick up 50, 70, 60, 100, up to 100 grand of those wages. That's what's probably going to end up happening. But for me, this is a case. Sometimes I get you want to drive a good bargain, but there are times where you've just got to wake up and smell the coffee and say, do you know what? Let's just getting rid of these players is also key, because it's hard to bring in more when you've still got them on your books. The wages are a bigger issue sometimes than the transfer
Yeah.
fees. Like, as you say, with Fred, Alanga, Maguire, these individuals are not wanted by the manager. To move them on means, again, you can probably move a bit quicker with new players coming in, and it just
Yeah.
becomes a bottleneck approach, and it's
That's
poor.
it. And when you look at what Ten Hag's done in the time that he's been at the club, he's been very ruthless. Like he's made massive decisions since the moment he came through the door, and he's already made a decision on these players. To have them hanging around hurts him. It doesn't help him. Like he doesn't want these players loitering around a training ground, hanging around on the subs bench, being around because they've not got the vibe about them for the new era that he's trying to build. Like, look, Harry Maguire is one of the best voices in that Man United dressing room in his time there. Like I was told, like actually, for whatever like you didn't like about him on the pitch, he was actually integral at one point of getting that team together off the pitch when they were going through a bad time a couple of years back. There was a pre-season, and I was speaking to someone that was on it, and he was like, "Look, Harry Maguire has been unbelievable in leading this group of players, but." Harry Maguire's not the captain now. Harry Maguire's being phased out of this team. He can't possibly feel part of this. And if he's not part of it, you've got to move him on. It's the best for him and it's the best for the football club as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.